Hello and welcome to Spinster's Library. I'm Claudia and this is my Classicsathon TBR. If you don't know what Classicsathon is, it's a readathon hosted by Lucy the Reader. It runs from the 1st to the 31st of August, and the goal, if you want to participate, is to read at least one classic during that month. It's pretty simple, it's pretty straightforward, and it's the perfect excuse for me to get through some of those classics that have been on my TBR for a while. I will link to Lucy's original announcement and TBR video in the description box, so check that out. She has some really wonderful picks on her TBR and I'll be following her progress throughout the month. The first book that I'm hoping to tackle is one that I've actually started, and I am struggling so much with this. I'm reading it on Kindle, and the book is The Heart of Mid-Lothian by Sir Walter Scott. This is one of my picks for my 1818 novel project, which is a project in which I read 6 books from 1818 this year, 200 years after they were published. I am really struggling with this one. I'm only 4% in, and my Kindle helpfully tells me that it's going to be another 17 hours and 4 minutes before I finish this book. But already I'm completely lost. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what this is about. I really want to get through this book because I don't want to give up on my 1818 project. I also don't like the feeling of being too stupid for a book, but I think that's what might be the case here. Either way, this is going to be the main one that I'm going to tackle. I don't know if I'm actually going to get through this book because I don't think I can spare 17 hours and 4 minutes of reading time in August, but we'll see. I'll try and do my best, and I'll try and deliberately pick this book up even though I have no idea what's going on so far. Maybe as I get further into it, I'll get more into reading it as well. My plan B is pretty much this. That's Persuasion by Jane Austen, and it was also conveniently published in 1818 and is also on my TBR for that project. I'm hoping to read that parallel to the Walter Scott book, and I'm hoping that reading those two next to each other will kind of motivate me to get through both, because eventually I do want to continue that series and I want to make videos about both of those books. I have read Persuasion before, but that was quite a few years ago and I don't actually remember much about it at all. I think the main character is called Anne. There's probably some romance involved. Oh, and it is set in Bath. That's all I know about this book, but I'm very much looking forward to rereading it, and maybe this time I'll actually remember more about it. Next on my TBR is a modern classic, Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, also known as BookTube's darling. Everyone seems to love this book, and so many people talk about it on here that I'm almost intimidated by it, because what if I don't like it? What then? Am I gonna have to hand in my BookTube badge? Either way, I've been avoiding spoilers for this one because I feel like the mystery and the suspense is part of the appeal of this book. So every time someone's mentioned this in a video, I've just kind of stuck my fingers in my ear and skipped past that bit. I really, really hope I love this as much as everyone else does. Next up, I have another modern classic. This is Brighton Rock by Greene. This is a classic from the 1930s, and I picked this up on the recommendation of friend and guest spinster Robin, who read this and liked this. Again, I don't really know what this is about. Based on the title, I'm guessing it's set in Brighton. I also have the vague idea of this being quite a socially critical book about class and wealth and poverty, but really, I don't know. Next, I've got a children's classic. This is Robin Hood by Henry Gilbert. Note that this is not the more popular version by Howard Pyle from the 19th century. This is from 1912, and I haven't actually read any Robin Hood based books at all. The closest I've gotten to that legend is through the Disney version, and I'm pretty sure that Robin Hood isn't actually a fox in this. But we'll see. Maybe he is. This is also described as a beautifully illustrated edition. However, flicking through the pages, there aren't really that many illustrations in it. Here's one of them. It does look quite nice, but there's maybe one every 20 pages or so. Anyway, I do like my children's classics, and I'm hoping that I'll like this one as well. And lastly, I have a German classic that really isn't a single work at all. This is an old edition of Goethe's poems. Not all of his poems, just a collection of them. And this was published in 1925, which means it looks like this. Let me know if you can read that font. I can, but it is going to be a little bit more difficult than reading a modern printed book. I'm hoping to dip in and out of this book and just, you know, maybe read a poem a day and see how far I get into this. I have liked all of Goethe's poems so far that I have read, but I've mostly read them in the context of school or university and not really just for pleasure. So I'm really hoping I like these ones. I find reading poetry quite difficult, and I think a lot of that has to do with my desire to want to understand and analyze poetry in a way that my brain is clearly not capable of doing. Maybe I'll just be able to read these poems and enjoy them for what they are without having to overthink everything. So this was my TBR for Classicsathon. I don't know if I'm going to do many videos based on this in August. Let me know if you want to see more videos based on this in August. I might do a reading vlog or two, and I'll do a wrap up at the end. And if I get through The Heart of Mid-Lothian, then you'll also see a separate video about that as part of the 1818 project. Let me know if you're taking part in Classicsathon and what classics you're planning to read in August if you are taking part. Also check out Lucy's video, link down below. Thank you for watching. Bye.